Okay, today I'm working on a 2003 Ford Explorer 5R55S Trans, and today we're going to talk about the common issues of those pressure control solenoid codes, a snap ring that likes to break, and I have the updated snap ring for that. I think I might have mentioned this before. And also, I see often on this, for me to consider it to be fairly common, is lockup codes, like a 740 code. So I'm going to go over those couple of things. Now on this particular one, this had the pressure control solenoid A, which is P0745, accompanied with a P0733, which is gear ratio error in third. Okay, this is the drum that the band rides on. As you can see, the band wasn't broken, but as you can see, the band was pretty much burnt out. What would happen with this is occasionally this thing would let loose and race up, and there would be nothing there. It would slip going into third, and then the overdrive off light would start flashing, or the check engine light would come on, and we would have code P0745 and P0733. Now a lot of times, and also what I find is when you use the small handheld scanner or a code reader, it may not pull all the codes out. I don't like to use that small handheld scanner on the Fords because a couple times people came to me with the scanner, with the small handheld scanner on it, thinking that it would need a solenoid pack because all they have is 745. And then when I would put my scanner on it, I would show them it would have the P0733 as well. That happened on a few occasions. But what happens is why these pressure control solenoid codes show up if you have a broken band is pretty much the computer is blaming the solenoid. That particular solenoid is responsible to maintain proper pressure in that circuit, so to apply the band or to apply the clutch or whatever the case may be. And when it sees that there's something wrong, it's going to flag a code and blame the solenoid. And it also sees the ratio is way out of whack because it might shift, might flare up, run away in third. And I actually have one coming in today that I spoke to him last night. He called me up and he says, I have an 02 Ford Explorer and I don't understand what's going on. It's shifting very late and I wanted to have the fluid checked in it. So actually what this is probably doing, it probably has a front band that's broken. The front band on the transmission is second and fifth, and the rear band is third or intermediate. But it's probably the one that's coming in today, more than likely is probably shifting from first to third. So I think that's why he is concerned with a late shift. Okay, so that is pretty much what happens, why those codes show up. It can show up, the 745 can show up electrically. I actually have a video on sometimes those, the connectors, the harness. I had to change a few of those. You buy the repair harness and you got to do each one. It can show up because of electrical reasons as well, but also can show up because of mechanical problems. So you just have to drive the car, kind of see what it's doing, and make sure all your gears are there, make sure it's not slipping, and this way you can properly diagnose it. A lot of people think that because of the code there of the pressure control solenoid, that they can replace the solenoid pack and everything will be okay, turning will do the same thing. Kind of just like on a 4060E, when you have that like 751 or 752 shift solenoid A stuck off, if that's the definition of it, and has a broken band and it shifts from first to third, so it's seeing the wrong ratio. So again, the computer is blaming the solenoid for not turning on or not turning off, so it flags that particular code. And even on that transmission, people come to me and said, you know, maybe we can just put a solenoid in it and I can be on my way, but a lot of times that's never the case. Okay, here is the ring gear. We're just going to go over that again because this is extremely common, and the snap ring should be updated. I see these things broken a lot, and then these get caught under the forward clutches and jammed them on, and that definitely should be updated. And also, big reason why I see the 740 code show up is there is a Stator bushing here that likes to wear out. I'm going to get a little closer and we'll just go over that, and I have the bushings and stuff here. And the pump bushing also should be changed, very, very important, because I see that quite often as well. The number one, of course, is the pressure control solenoid codes broken, due to broken bands, broken servos. Let me just grab one of these here. I see the front band more problems than the intermediate or the third, and this is the second design piston for the front band, and a lot of times this center will break out, and this is probably like 03 and up, this piston. And the other one was I think basically just 2002. The whole thing is molded rubber, the piston. But again, it's very common for the bands to break on this. And also what I do is I sleeve the bores. I also have those to show you as part of, to keep these bands and stuff from breaking. The sleeves from Northland Transmissions. And I have the tooling, and I always do that. Kind of makes it better than new. There also are those other pistons out there that have the sleeve in it, that have the O-rings. I do get questions on those. Have I used them? Are they good? I honestly have never used them. I always sleeve the case. I did get one in that did have it. It was still having issues, and when I took the cover off and took the piston out, and I think it was the intermediate piston for the third band, it was actually, the piece was actually broken. It was like probably broken. This is the front piston, but the apply pin was broken. And one more thing that I like to do, just to put it out there, if you're going to be doing one of these and you have the transmission out and apart, I would definitely put a reverse band in it. I have seen those break, and every one of them that I had taken out is always worn out. So that is, as a standard rebuild procedure, I like to change. All right, so let me get a little closer here, and we'll just look at these things real quick, and I will be right back. Okay, so here is the ring gear, the forward ring gear. All right, and here is this is the snap ring, a little flimsy, that always breaks up compared to the one that I'm going to be putting in. And these, I do these on all the 5R55 S's, W's, and N's. They also have it for E40D, and they also have it for the 5R110. All right, so it is a common issue, being the fact that they make this, tells you right there it's something very common. And this particular part number, this is made by, I think it's made by Superior Transmission Parts, and it's K0105 is their number. But if you probably call any part supplier and give them the K0105, it should cross over to their part number. All right, so again, this is very common to be broken, and it sits in there real nice. Okay, so that is the new snap ring. Just going to leave it in there where it's in there, and then this one, of course, have that used for. All right, on these are the pump and stator bushings for the 5R55 and even the late 5R55Es, 4R55Es. What I usually do, I change them on every overhaul that I do, regardless if I have a 740 or not. But if I do have a 740 code, now it could also be torque converter, something possibly in the valve body. But I've seen a lot these bushings wear out, especially this Stator bushing, and I always take my input shaft. This actually is very good. There's really not much play at all. but I see what kind of play I'm dealing with. I check it before I knock the bushing out, and then I always change the bushing. I compare it to how this one is to how the new one is. But I have had that before a few times where the bushing did cause the problem of the 740 code. You know, I had noticed on these 5R55Ss when you have like a major slip, and what I mean by that is when this thing is commanded on and it ramps up to about 100% and you're still dealing with like a 300 RPM slip. A couple times when I was looking at that problem, I come to the conclusion was the converter itself. But if you're dealing with a slip that you're looking on the scan tool and it's maybe 80 RPM slip or 100 RPM slip, you know, that could be something like a bushing, valve body, something like that. But I do see that bushing wear out a lot. And as a standard rebuild procedure, of course, the pump bushing and the stator bushing always get changed. All right, again, here is the drum for the intermediate band or the third band. Okay, I'll tell you, I very rarely see one of these burn out, but more than likely it burns out. This could have burned out because of possibly a worn case. So that also makes those pressure control solenoid codes show up as well. So again, I'm going to be sleeving it. I have the whole kit from Northland. And here is the reverse band, all right, that I mentioned before. And these tend to wear out in this area, here and here. And also the band I've seen flake off. This one is worn out here and here. So I got one of these coming on order. And oh, you know what? I just want to mention one thing on the solenoid pack. Just for information only, there are two different solenoid packs. There is 02, 03, and 04 and up. And I usually identify it by the small little cap here. All right, this is the early one, has the very small cap, and the later ones have the larger cap. All right, and the reason for this information is you cannot, they say that these solenoid packs have different amperage draw. So if you put an early solenoid pack, 0203, on like an 05 car, you're more than likely going to have a flared shift. And I believe a guy had contacted me, I think actually he was in Canada, and we were going back and forth, and he says he overhauled it, he's got a 2-3 flare. You can try to reset the shift adapts. It may fix it for a little while, but eventually it's probably going to go back to the same way. And I was asking him if he did the sleeves and all, and I said the only conclusion that I can come to is you use the wrong solenoid pack in the car. You may have put an early one in. So I would maybe grab another one off the shelf or just get another one for that year, get it from the dealer through the VIN number and put it in and see what happens. And sure enough, he emailed me back and he said that was the problem. So you can use the later one. I believe the later solenoid pack would retro down to 02, but the 0203 you can only use on 0203. All right, so I did want to mention that for some information. And I think that's about it. As far as the clutches go, especially on the forwards, because these, the directs are one-sided, so you really can't mix that up. They are directional, and if you're putting new forward frictions in, they should be marked. It should say top, so just make sure that faces you when you put that in. And I guess that is about it. Just a couple of quick things on this 03 Ford Explorer 5R 55S. And I guess that's about it. Also in this, as far as the pump, okay, so you have a couple of dots, one each on the pump gears. okay, and they're gonna face down because you have an O-ring for the converter. If you put the pump gears in wrong, the converter neck will not be able to seal on the O-ring, and that of course will cause converter codes. Also inside the pump you have the flow control valve. You know, I always change it because these things go out, of course, with my name on it, and I warranty them. I don't see too many problems, but the early designs, they say they do stick open, which will, you know, kill your line pressure, could possibly cause delays. So I like to change that. I have parts coming. I don't really have too much here right now. And one other thing, getting back to this ring gear with the snap ring, when it breaks, a lot of times this will actually fall down because now there's no snap ring in it, and it actually cut this shell in half. I've seen that before as well. So, all right, I guess that is about it for this 03 Ford Explorer 5R55S Common Problems. I thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and we will see you next one.